Hello and welcome to City View, where we give you an inside view at the City of Columbia. I'm your host, Leisha Utsi. In this episode of City View, our top story focuses on Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which was recognized in the City of Columbia during the month of October. Every year, the City of Columbia hosts a walk, and this year was the 10th anniversary for the Mayor's Walk Against Domestic Violence. As a part of the 10th anniversary, we also hosted the Purple Rally as a pre-ceremony event before the walk began.
This is the City of Columbia's opportunity to bring awareness towards an issue that not only plagues our community, but communities throughout the nation. But unfortunately, South Carolina has traditionally always ranked very high in incidents of domestic violence. And so we started this walk several years ago in an opportunity to bring awareness around this issue during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I'm just really excited because over the years, support has grown, the number of walkers have grown, the enthusiasm and the excitement of individual people wanting to participate and say, what more can I do? What can I do to help ensure that domestic violence is addressed in our community?
To me, this is such a special day because I showed up here 6 years ago. I was just getting out of an abusive marriage, and for me it just hits home because this was the very first event that I attended after leaving my marriage. So for our community to do this every year, it's such an honor to be a part of it and to be the Grand Marshal for it. It's just great.
Prior to the date for the walk, the City of Columbia also hosted the Domestic Violence Advocates Awareness Exchange, which brought together those who work to assist victims and survivors in our community. The guest speaker for this year's exchange was Senator Katrina Shealy, who shared a very personal story about the impact domestic violence has had on her sister's life.
My sister was married to her high school sweetheart when she was 17 years old. She never really had another boyfriend. He was a few years older than she was. Oh, he could be charming when he wanted to, but he could also be mean, and he was very, very controlling. From the very beginning of their marriage, and even before, everyone in our family knew there were problems. My mother and father would have done anything to stop their relationship. And they would have done anything once they were married to get her out. But as domestic violence victims are, she said she loved him and she was in denial. But she had all the signs. She had the bruises, she had an occasional black eye, and she had fear in her eyes. But she covered up for him, out of fear for herself, out of fear for her family. At the beginning of their marriage, they had one daughter, and she actually left him for a while when our mother was dying of cancer. But she immediately returned after our mom's death and brought two more little girls into their family. Their children were withdrawn and had low self-esteem, and they still suffer from the effects of what happened to this very day. None of the three have been able to maintain a stable marriage. Two are manic depressive, and one is an alcoholic. Domestic violence affects your family for generations. My sister was so controlled, there were times he would not let her see her family. He just would not allow it. He would take things that were important to her, gifts from friends and family, and he would destroy them. He would take her clothes and he would cut them up and burn them if he thought she had too many. I remember once my grandmother and I went shopping because my grandmother loved to buy things for her, and we took them to her. And he stood there and cut them up right in front of our face. It broke my grandmother's heart. So you ask, why did she stay? She thought she loved him. She thought he would change. He said he would, and she was scared of him. He had threatened to kill her and her children. She sat in her room night after night and heard him in another room cocking a gun over and over again. It was a game for him. He loved the intimidation, and he loved the power he had over her. Finally, one Friday night in November of 1999, she had had enough, after almost 30 years of living in this torment. Once again, he had gotten mad after they had gone out with friends, and he came home and he started the threats and playing his little gun cocking game again. She swore to herself if she lived through the weekend that she was going to leave him. Our father had recently passed away, and she had inherited a little money, so she felt like she was financially stable enough to leave on her own. But our parents would have helped her anytime she had wanted to leave. But she moved out that next week. She got a place of her own, but there was a price to pay for that. She found an apartment and she left. But less than a week after she left, my brother-in-law packed his loaded rifle up in his pickup truck and drove to my sister's place of employment. He pulled up beside her car in the parking lot and he sat there. He had written quite a few suicide notes, 9 to be exact, notes that had all different outcomes, depending on what choice he decided that day. My brother-in-law got out of his truck in the parking lot in DHEC here in Columbia, and he sat on the hood of my sister's car with his rifle. Was he waiting on her to come out of the building? Was he going to do what so many abusers do? Was he going to do what our family had always feared? Was he going to kill my sister and then kill himself? Well, we were lucky that day. The reason I say we were lucky is because he chose the option to put the gun under his chin and kill himself and blow his head off and all over 2 vehicles in that parking lot. My sister had contacted law enforcement the day before this happened and told them he was riding around with a loaded gun and she was scared for her life. Law enforcement did actually go and talk to him, and he told him that she was crazy and not him, so they did nothing. Law enforcement called after the shooting and asked me to come to DHEC to identify my brother-in-law so my sister would not have to. Fortunately, when I was less than 20 feet from the car and his body, they found his ID in his pocket. But for the grace of God, my sister would have been killed that day.
As you could hear, it is a very touching and impactful story that Senator Shealy shared. The exchange was hosted by City Councilwoman Tamika Isaac Devine, who also is the chairperson for the Domestic Violence Task Force for the City of Columbia.
A lot of people who are survivors of domestic violence don't want to share their story, don't want people to know that they've been abused in the past. People who have been involved or known people who are domestic violence survivors, they don't want people to know that their sister or their mother or they grew up in an abusive home. And so a lot of times people don't want to take ownership to this issue like they do for other issues. And so when we wanted to bring awareness, we started with the walk, and we said we wanted to have people just come out. So it's a free of charge walk. We want people to come out and just bring in numbers. Our first year, we were excited with it, but we had less than 200 walkers. Where you see, breast cancer and others, you have, nearly 20,000 walkers. I mean, it's amazing. And so what we wanted to do is say, okay, we know over years it will grow. And so we started with 200 walkers. The last time we had the walk, we had almost 2,000. And that is in part by having people who take ownership to this issue.
In addition to recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, the City of Columbia also recognized October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And the annual Isabel Law Breast Cancer Awareness Breakfast fundraiser was held once again this year. City officials not only attended, but also served as celebrity servers.
I'm here, to serve breakfast for a good cause, to fight against breast cancer. This is such an important cause because it affects so many lives out there. So we want to do our part to come out here and, have good fellowship, fun, and just serve breakfast.
We are here raising money for the breast cancer fundraiser. So we like to donate money to Bosom Buddies, which is an organization that helps breast cancer patients get some of the needs that make it a little more comfortable to go through that experience.
Well, this is a joint effort for the city. I mean, you got every department here represented from the city, Public Works, Fire Department, Police Department, City Hall. I mean, you just got everybody out here just working together so good. So it's just important to be out here just be on one accord for a good cause.
A new reading initiative was recently kicked off by Mayor Steve Benjamin. Books to Boys was launched just a few weeks ago. And right after the launch, a special reading event was held at a local park.
Is everyone ready for fun? Some of you guys know this one? All right, so this one, a little less familiar with this one than the last one, huh?
Now there's some cows and there's a chicken. So I'm gonna be the cows and Steve will be the chicken.
So this is all kind of a prequel. Look, it's a chicken sofa. It's chicken sofa, of course, and the cows are jumping on chicken sofa. So we'll see how this is going to go.
So that's
okay?
me, right?
That's you. So I'm chicken. You can say, is everyone ready for fun?
Is everyone ready for fun?
By Jan Thomas.
It's time to
That's you. That's you, actually.
you're the chicken.
Oh.
Jump up and down, let's all jump up and down.
On chicken
All
sofa.
right. On the chicken sofa.
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute, wait a minute. There's no jumping on my sofa.
We won't jump on your sofa anymore. Is everyone ready for more fun?
More fun?
It's time to dance back and forth, back and forth. Let's all dance back and forth.
Chicken sofa. Chicken sofa.
On chicken sofa.
What are you doing now?
You said not to jump on your sofa. We weren't jumping.
Okay.
Is everyone ready for even more fun?
No more fun, no more fun.
It's time to wiggle to and fro, to and fro. Let's all wiggle to and fro. On chicken sofa.
Enough. There will be no more jumping, dancing, or wiggling on my sofa.
Then there's only one thing left for us to do. Is everyone ready? It's time to nap.
Napping on my sofa?
Yes.
Good idea.
Not only is the city concerned about resources for our youth, but also resources for seniors. Recently, Mayor Steve Benjamin, along with members of Columbia City Council, presented a check to Senior Resources of Columbia.
This is honestly one of the most fun things that I get to do. To be able to spend time with seniors and children is probably the high point of my day. But some of these ladies are just so sweet. They remind me of my grandmothers who've gone on to glory now. But the wealth of experience, the depth of experiences the level of commitment that so many of these folks have had to this community for decades upon decades. It's a wonderful opportunity just to be able to say thank you and show the clear commitment of the city to making sure that they maintain a very high quality of life and that we support their efforts to continue to enrich the lives of children across the community.
As we close our show, we want to once again emphasize our appreciation to all those who supported the 10th anniversary Mayor's Walk Against Domestic Violence. For 10 years, this has been a growing initiative, and this year, over 1,500 supporters showed up to walk and take steps against domestic violence. Thanks to all the walkers, our volunteers, and also the exhibitors who shared this fantastic event. Remember, continue to watch City TV, and also remember, we are Columbia.